is this just fantasy? No. We've established that firmly. This is Wake the Devil, the second kind of major volume of Hellboy. And we're going to cover issue 3. So I don't need to like intro this anymore, except just to point out like we're using the library edition, which is this much bigger than a standard comic. So yeah, it's been looking great so far. So let's just get into issue 3. So for chapter 3, or I guess the end of chapter 2, Hellboy, after meeting the awesome vampire skeleton dude, we come across some harpies, or as Hellboy calls them, the women of Thessaly. So let's get into what happens next. So here's, a facsimile of the original cover. Man, it makes me want to get a hold of all the individual issues just because these covers are really cool. But, of course, we're into the story here and interiors here, so let's just go ahead and hop in. Yeah, so we get a little mythology lesson from Mr. Mignola here about the women of Thessaly, and then we get into our castle again. And I feel like he must have been looking at either a particular castle in the actual world we live in, or maybe a couple of them, because he seems pretty consistent with how he renders this castle. So I'm gonna say that he is referencing something, maybe Dracula's castle itself in Transylvania, but this is just a fictional castle, but possibly has a real world basis. Might look that up and put it on the screen right now, or I might not, because I just want to talk about the art. And here we have Hellboy getting chewed the fuck up by some harpies, which, this falls into that category of like, mythology laced fantasy, adaptations of mythology, and that's something that Hellboy plays plays a lot with, is incorporating world mythology, world folklore, and also like science fiction and even like more modern notions of like demons and monsters and stuff like that. So it is a bit of a free-for-all, but not in a disorienting sense. Like, it all feels like it fits together, and I think that's kind of the specialness that is Hellboy, is that it's able to kind of take all these disparate elements like German folklore and Greek mythology and American 1950s sci-fi, and mash it together in a way that doesn't feel mashed together, but feels like it's all part of the same paranormal milieu. But yeah, it's awesome seeing mythology and folklore and sci-fi, and like it's awesome seeing it all come together in such a exciting and refreshing and just frankly for me beautiful way. And great action, of course, and of course he's got his his sabotage Zinco weapons, and he just blows up his hand. And remember what I've been saying about no boring pages and no boring panels, and I mean even like these close-ups of the gun, like just how he turns his body into feasible negative space, and how he gets this hand coming out of here, and it doesn't feel awkward, because I feel like sometimes when you do these like zoom ins, like the position of the hand relative to the body, even if it's abstracted, can seem a little awkward, like the arm is prone in an odd position. But I don't get that here. I get that like that's it works. And of course, yeah, add to the interest, these great onomatopoeias in here. And yeah, and I love how this explosion just in little pieces comes out of the panel and is part of the panel border. I mean, that's yeah, it livens up the panel, even though it's a panel of a gun exploding in somebody's hand, like, which is exciting enough. This just adds a bit of comic book flash that you can't simulate in a film. You can't do, you can only somewhat do in animation. This is and you can't really do in like a novel, say. So like this is this is a comic book exclusive move, and that's also something that it draws me to Mike Mignola as a creator and Hellboy as a book, is that it is doing comic book things. And I love this, this bloody hand, showing off how, messed up he is. And yeah, we get, him, he's scrapping, he's doing whatever he can. And I really love like the simplification of his hand right here in in shadow. It's like he wanted to keep enough details in there. And what's interesting is like, I'm sure if you talk to him about it, Mignola would have a bunch of different things to say about like how he would do things differently now. And that's absolutely true. And because his approach has definitely changed a whole lot. And he probably wouldn't keep in a bunch of this detail. He wouldn't have these little lines in here that, like, for the cracks in there. You'd probably put a single line. But, that's the process of, developing as an artist. Yeah, but like, even if at this point it would look a lot different, I think it still looks amazing now. And we have trouble raising up here, and we have a vampire raising from the grave, which, I mean, classic move, popping out of a coffin, but he's real gross and skeletal. But then he starts getting his flesh panel by panel here. And yeah, great panel of a leaping Hellboy. And also just, great. I love the colors in this. It's interesting because it's these like kind of cool grays in here a lot, which, help to sell like where he is and when it is, but it's also like a great contrast to the vibrant reds in here, or like even like these pale yellows and the oranges and the eyes here. Yeah, it's just all it's it's an unconventional choice. I feel like some other people would put flashier colors back there and get it a little busy, but it's like, no, the I feel like Mignola's has consistently, for as long as Hellboy's been around, had colorists that know that they're there to accentuate his art, not to show off themselves necessarily, or rather like they're not doing extra lifting for him, because I know that for with a panel with this lacking in background, I feel like there's some colorists that would put like the archways in here in color, and they would maybe add a bunch of texture and stuff to fill it out, and that's because in some cases that's what like a penciler slash inker wants out of the colorist, is like, hey, fill out my backgrounds. But that's not happening here. I love these little marks here for grass and shrubbery. And yeah, I need to get better at these blood spiders, frankly. Yeah, Hellboy's just having a night here. And yeah, just also what a great flow here. So he's falling, and and I love the transition from a bird to this like woman basically, and he's falling. He tries to catch himself on the window, and it breaks apart. I love the transfer of like the bricks here to the bricks here when he comes in for a landing, and I see like has or not, it's not a woman, it's Girashu, sorry. And then he's fallen through this tomb, and then I love going from here to here, seeing Bill. And I love going from here to here, seeing Hellboy leaping into this tomb here. And I look at all this scrubby lines. Like like if you look at it isolated, they're just lines, they're just. But taken all together and put into the right context, it looks like bushes. And like even like here where they're just lines in space, but it really, I just read it as like, it's atmospheric. It's, it denotes, the shrubbery without getting too in the minutia of it. And I also love these little heart-shaped leaves in here, to denote like ivy or something like that growing on these, among these columns. And then going from here to here, it's like I know this is like a tunnel. And then here we enter, this underchamber, with this, goddess in the background, and so we're heading into goddess territory, specifically. A serpentine moon goddess. Which we have. He's going after this vampire. That's his job, and it turns into snakes. And I also love that these snakes turn into these lines here, but yet like because of a combination of the coloring and just like great panel to panel work, I know what's going on there. It's one thing I'm never lost in a Mignola panel. I'm always like I always know what I'm doing, and I always know where I am. And also he comes out here and damn, like what a great end to that sequence. Like just his frustration. And then we have Girashu being rescued by his moon goddess. And and then Elsa and fucking Rasputin are up to some shit. And this has got to be like some medieval illustration that he's cribbing. Like specifically, I don't know what it is. It looks somewhat familiar, but it's also, it could be a lot of things, but I'm just really curious where that comes from. But here we go. So what I love is that here we have Mignola's Rasputin, and here he is drawing like Rasputin as in like taken from, a photograph. And, he's able to translate from one to the other. Like it looks like it's the same guy. But then we get to some real awesome shit as our first big appearance of Baba Yaga, or the Baba Yaga. So I'm a big fan of Baba Yaga, in case you didn't know. I have a video talking about my first encounter with the character in a children's like fairy tale book. But Mike Mignola also loves Baba Yaga, and his Baba Yaga is very distinct in how she looks, but yet it's also very much akin to the folklore around her. Even though folklore is varied, and so like here she has like wooden legs, but that is the case in some versions of the tale. But she floats around in a giant mortar and pestle, which is what she does. But just her very like her almost her very like, I don't know, like natural like nature, like almost like a Mother Nature except kind of twisted and evil version of it. Yeah, this Baba Yaga is way more vicious, and like is more on the evil side and less on the like, I might help you or I might kill you. And it's like he does derive benefit from her at one point, but yeah, she's mostly an antagonist. But yeah, what a great image, and also like the specificity of this cross and this roof. It tells you where you are culturally. You're in Slavic land. You're in Russia maybe. But yeah, and then the Russian royal family ends up getting killed by Rasputin. In the real world, or at least that's the purported thing. So now we're checking in with the rest of the team, and they're kind of like, what's going on with Hellboy, and yeah, they're trying to figure out what their end of the things are. And I just love, like this kind of morose cavalier attitude that Mignola always gives Liz. Yeah, I love this little face right here. Just easy to say. I just love this stuff. It's real easy. And I also love this cool, like ancient, kind of like spell work, like ancient, like the seals of King Solomon. Keep demons in. Oh man, here we go. So we're entering an old alchemist's lair, and here we have Roger the homunculus. So if you don't know what a homunculus is, it's basically a living, or it's a creature, like a living thing created by an alchemist. And what it's made of is who knows what it's. But normally they were like little small creatures that helped the alchemists do their work because it was like witchcraft or whatever. And this is like a man-sized homunculus. In many ways, he's kind of like a Frankenstein monster, only like he's not sewn together from corpses. He's grown somehow or assembled somehow. But he doesn't have the spark of life in him at this point. Yeah, and what a fascinating design. I love this little like hat, like gas hatch here to fuel him up on his chest, and then what I always found fascinating to as a choice is he's got this like block of wood with like a chain dangling on his crotch, and just like, I don't know, I feel like that's a design choice that's shows a bit of a sense of humor from Mignola, and it's just like, but he doesn't have genitals, so what else are you gonna put there? Instead of making it a Ken doll situation, he did something that was way more unique, interesting, and funny. But here, and I also love how, since you enter this lab, which I love this, this is definitely like some tarot looking shit right there. Liz is drawn with her eyes aglow, and like really pushing forward from Mignola that like that spark that's in her, that fire that's in her. And here she, it's almost like she's possessed to, basically perform a God and Adam, with Roger here, and he's filled with life, and they're, Roger is just basically just born and doesn't know what to do, and just this is just like exciting and wild scene here, and and you don't know what to expect. You don't know if he's a killer or not, but like he ends up accidentally or killing this dude and escaping, and yeah, that's just brutal. And yeah, this is open eye here. It's just real, yeah, it's a real horror thing, man. And yeah, what a great panel right here. I mean, it shows that Hellboy is not all fun and games. It's it can be brutal, and bloody. Yeah, and Roger is it's up to trouble. Yeah, man, we're back with the Nazis in Norway, and the head of Herman von Klimt, and yeah, what a great antagonist! Just a Nazi's head in a jar, with all this weird mechanical shit on it, and yeah, it's great villain shit, frankly, and where I don't know, it's just. I think what's great about Wake the Devil is that it's just really building out and establishing just some exciting places to go in this world with like interesting characters, and yeah, I just think that's what's great about this book is how it's establishing all that. And I also love these incidental moments with like people who aren't involved in the action but yet are responding to it. It's what I feel like when that happens is that it feels like a real world. It feels like a world that has stakes and that people like there's consequences to things happening. And yeah, I feel like he's got to be looking at Dracula's castle. That just this tower right here in particular looks very much like the Dracula castle. Yep, and these Hellboy's found a store of bombs and shit, and he's going to blow up the castle. So yeah, what a great setup for the next issue with his weird disembodied voice calling out to Hellboy. So a great issue, lots of great action and cool folklore shit, and it's just it's as exciting and as really as lovely as this kind of story can be. And yeah, I'm excited to move on with the next one. So for now, that was Hellboy Wake the Devil issue 3. And if you like that, you might like my comics. I have Sidequesters, I have Haxan. This is a fantasy story. This is, adjacent stories about witches and wizards. And then I also have a comedy series, called 3-Panel Origin. It's about like embarrassing superheroes. And I also have a book of stories about them. You can find all this to buy on my website. So check it out there if you want to support me or if you're interested in looking at it. But yeah, stay spooky and I'll see you in the next one.